Hello everybody, welcome back to Heart Breathings. I'm so excited that you're here because we are going to talk about one of those things that I think plagues us all in different seasons of our lives, and that's how to get motivated as a writer. And I'm talking about not just how to motivate yourself to sit down and write your novel, but how to get motivated to do everything when it comes to hitting these big goals that you have for your writing and for your career, and fitting it all in with everything else that you have to do. So I've got some big tips for you today, so stay tuned. Motivation, it's one of those crazy things that's even though sometimes we know exactly what we want out of life, we have these big dreams, or we know we want to write books, we know we want to reach people, and we have this idea of where we're going, sometimes it can still be difficult to motivate ourselves to get the work done. I don't know why this is. Someone who's trained in psychology could probably step in and give an entire speech about this, but it's so frustrating. It's one of the most frustrating things in life is you want to do it, you want to get that book done, but then you still make choices sometimes that are the opposite of actually getting those things done. And I know there's a lot that goes into it. There's fear, there's, fear of success, there's fear of failure, there's fear of putting yourself out there. There's this fear that maybe even though you want to be a writer, it's never really going to happen. So if you really apply yourself to it 100%, what if you find out that it's never going to be your life? And then you have to face that, where it's a lot safer to sit back and say, I'm a writer, I'm working toward this dream. And then when it comes down to the daily writing and getting those tasks done and learning how to self-publish or learning how to find an agent and all those other little things, we procrastinate them, even though it's something we want really badly, because we're afraid. So I'm not going to go into all the mindset and mental things that go into this, because you guys, if you're facing it, you kind of understand some of those things, and maybe some of those things still confuse you the way that they do me. It's like, why do we want it so badly and then we don't actually do the work that it takes? I don't know 100%. Maybe that's something for our therapists to chime in on. But I do want to give you some tips that have really worked for me motivation-wise, because as I talked about in my live stream last weekend, I have been on a major productivity journey. I have big goals, but I can't always follow through with them. So after I hit a wall, I hit a really rough spot a couple of years ago, I had to sort of pick myself up and say, okay, Sarah, if this is what you want to do with your life, you're going to have to get motivated, because sitting down on the couch and binge watching Netflix or ID channel or listening to a bunch of true crime podcasts or reading a bunch of books, all those things are great, but I'm just procrastinating the work that needs to get done for me to hit my dreams. What I'm going to give you are 5 of my top tips that have sort of changed my life and made a big difference for me. And I'm hoping that it will start you down a path that will make a big difference for you in your life as well. So let's talk about some of my tips for how to get motivated in this career and in your life. So one of the biggest things that you can do, tip number 1, is to really think about what it is you want, not just, well, I want to write books and being just very vague about that. But what do you want your life to look like? What's that ideal version of your life? What do you want it to feel like on a daily basis? How much work do you want to have to put into this? And what do you want to get out of it? And I won't go deep into the kinds of questions that you could ask yourself, but just start simple by taking out a journal, taking out maybe your HB Notebook Challenge notebook for this month, and journaling a little bit about what do you want your life to look like? Now, this could mean that you're looking up to a mentor and you say, gosh, if my life could look like SJ Moss and I could have this, amazing YA career where I am hitting the New York Times and my books are in bookstores and I've got this amazing series that sold millions of copies. Maybe that's the life you want. Or you might be able to say, you know what? I really just want to write the books that I want to write, and I want to have control over them, and I want to put them out as much as I want and as often as I want. So I know I want to go indie and I want to have control, but I don't want to have to write or feel like I have to write a book a month. So my ideal is, to write 3 or 4 books a year or 2 books a year in this genre that I love. Or maybe what looks great for you is that you want to write multiple pen names, multiple genres, and you want to just have fun with your writing. Every single person would answer these questions differently as terms of how do you want to feel on a daily basis? What do you want your writing life to look like? What's your ideal? And maybe you've been afraid to even think about this, because if you think about what your ideal life looks like, then maybe you'll start having to take steps to move towards that. And maybe it feels like the dreams are too big and you've been scared to look at it. But if you really want to motivate yourself, if you found yourself like procrastinating and not getting things done, chances are you haven't faced the truth about what your ideal vision for your life is. Now, I've talked about this before, but I have an HB90 bootcamp and a planner called the HB90 method. And this is the key fundamental part of the beginning of the course and the beginning of the planner. If you've struggled with this and you really want to go deep into your ideal life, I highly suggest you sign up for my Q3 HB90 Bootcamp, which is coming up starting June 20th, so next week. It's only $149 and it is life-changing. Not only did it change my life when I first started doing this, but it has already changed the lives of hundreds of other people. And I would love for you to join me in that, because it's really something that was going to make a difference. And the first thing we do in that course is we look at your ideal vision for your life, and we look at it in ways that can seem a little bit uncomfortable, but that are going to start to move you towards that. Now, the reason that I tell you to start doing this, whether you take a course or anything else, just sit down at least and journal about this and really think about what it is you want, not what other people want for you, not what, it seems like society wants or what everybody says, all writers want such and such. Just let all that stuff go, all the expectations of others or all the things that you think you should want. And just focus on yourself. Like in an ideal world, if you were just by yourself and you were allowed and you gave yourself permission to dream of your life the way that you want it to be, what would you really, really most want? And the reason I encourage you to do this and why it can be so life-changing is that when you really step back and you think about what you want, it sort of clears away the cobwebs a little bit of other people's expectations and social media and trying to impress other people and trying to look a certain way. And you really get down to the heart of who you are and what you want. And sometimes it means facing your fears of, oh my God, I want this, and I'm scared to say that I want it because I'm afraid I'll never get it. But you have to at least be able to say it out loud. This is what I want out of my life, or you won't get it. And this is the first step. But I also find that this is huge when it comes to motivation, because when you can really declare, this is what I want out of my life, and you start to step into that of, I'm going to really go for this, it adds so much motivation for your life. And suddenly, instead of wanting to come on and turn on Netflix or play another video game or do whatever, you do want to sit down and do that writing. It doesn't mean your procrastination will be cured forever, but it is so motivational to really know what you want. So that's my first tip. Really look at your ideal vision for your life and think about what you want on a personal level. What do you want your life to look like? How do you want to feel in your life? So, so important when it comes to motivating yourself to get things done on a daily basis. So number 2 is more of like a don't do or be careful of. And this is be careful who you follow and who you share your dreams with. And I think this becomes more and more evident the more our lives become social media bound, is be careful who you are talking to, because when it comes to motivation, sometimes one of the biggest things that can kill your motivation when you're like, I've got this dream, I know what I want, and I'm super excited. And then you log into Facebook and you see somebody else going, well, I just made $15,000 in 2 weeks and I'm writing 10,000 words a day. And if you don't write 10,000 words a day, you suck as a writer, or whatever. And suddenly all that motivation is just, splattered on the road like roadkill. And you don't want to do anything now because you feel like a loser and a failure. And trust me, whether you are just starting out as a writer or whether you are like me and you've sold almost 750,000 books, you are susceptible to those kinds of posts from people who just aren't thinking about where their audience or where their friends might be. They just want to brag about where they are, or from their point of view, hey, 10,000 words is super easy, or 15,000 words in a weekend is super, super easy. I really don't believe that most authors who post that kind of thing are doing it to make anybody feel bad. I know sometimes I post my numbers, like how many words I've written in an hour or how many words this, and I would never do it to discourage someone else. But sometimes we just, where we are in our lives, we don't think about where somebody else might be, and if they're watching us, how it might make them feel to hear us talk about something. you log into Facebook and you see somebody talking about how their life sucks because they only made $10,000 this month. And suddenly you feel like a loser because you've been busting your butt to make 1,500, or whatever, or you haven't even started making money from your writing yet. So I think that, even if people aren't doing it on purpose, which I can promise you that most people are not, I certainly would never want to do anything intentionally to unmotivate someone or make them feel bad. But it's up to you to be protective of yourself and the things that matter to you and the things that affect you when it comes to your motivation and your desire to keep writing. If you're following people who constantly make you feel like you're not enough, you're not working hard enough, you're not a good writer, and it's bringing you down every time you see a post from them on social media, or you're in a Facebook group where every time somebody posts about how much money they made or how many books they sold or how many words they wrote, if that starts to make you feel bad and it makes you not motivated to write anymore because you're super feeling sensitive to it, or you're just like trying your best and you still can't hit those numbers, you have my permission to stop following them, even if it means unsubscribing from this channel, which I hope you wouldn't do. But I strive to be motivational for you, but if you were to constantly be finding the things that I say or the things other people say on YouTube or on social media, constantly, making you feel like you're not good enough or unworthy, you have every right to unsubscribe or to stop following or to leave that group for a while. Because one of the biggest things that can take away your motivation is when you begin getting triggered by somebody else's numbers or someone else's experience. So be careful who you follow, especially if you know you're someone who's very sensitive to those kinds of things. You can always go back and follow those people or befriend them or whatever later when you're not so sensitive to it. But just pay attention to how people make you feel when it comes to when they're talking about things that you want to be doing, like writers who are posting their sales numbers or their results or whatever. Just pay attention to that and protect yourself when it comes to following people who make you feel unmotivated to write. Number 3 is to find a balance between having that big dream for your life, like long term, and having realistic goals for the short term. So this is a big one too, because I find that if all we have is that big, huge vision for our lives and we don't really know how we're going to get there, or we have no real plan for what we can do right now, it starts to feel like it's super overwhelming. So comment below if you've definitely felt overwhelmed by how much you feel you would have to do in order to meet your biggest dreams. So like, let's say your big dream was, I want to be able to quit my job and be a full-time writer. So you need to be making at least, say, $5,000 a month. But right now, when you still haven't finished your first book, that dream could feel so big that it's completely overwhelming. You've got to learn how to self-publish. You have to finish this novel and learn how to edit it. You have to figure out cover art and a pen name and a business side of things. And then you have to learn how to market that book. And, it could just go on and on and on, like these little thought bubbles all around your head that just suddenly start to weigh you down. If that's all you're focused on is, I've got to make $5,000, it can seem way too overwhelming. But like I said in tip number 1, you need to have that vision and know what your ideal life looks like. My third tip here is to be realistic and balance out that big dream with a realistic view of your to-do list. So what I mean by that is, sure, you've got this long-term plan. Maybe that's your 5-year plan or your 3-year plan or even a 10-year plan or whatever it is. But this is why I love 90-day planning, because you guys have seen this. And of course, I'm going to be moving next week, so this board will change a little bit, but you can kind of see the bottom of it over there. But if you've watched my videos on my Kanban board, you know that I plan 90 days at a time. I set up everything I plan to accomplish in the next 90 days or the next quarter up on that board. And then I don't worry about anything that isn't there. If it's not on the board, it's not a part of my life. It's not a priority right now. But what that does is I know that everything, I have a specific system for deciding what goes on the board, prioritizing my tasks, my projects, and my goals, so that I know every single thing that's on that board is moving me toward that long-term vision. So let's say your long-term vision was to make $5,000 a month so you could quit your job. That could be your big long-term vision. So you might set a goal for this quarter that's like to finish 100% of my writing projects so that I can start working toward my ideal vision for my life. Then everything you put underneath that goal, that's a project or a task that goes on your Kanban board, is something that supports that vision for finishing those books, because that's the first step toward making money and that sort of thing. Your second goal might have something to do with education, like learning how to self-publish and starting to, learn the ins and outs of the business or the marketing or that sort of thing, so that when your book is finished, you can move on to that. Or if you're not ready at all to think about marketing, you're going to put that on the next quarter and you're not going to worry about it for now, but it's something that goes in what I call your future idea parking lot, which is an idea I got from my business mentor, Amber McHugh, who runs a group called Freshly Implemented that I am in. So future idea parking lot. It's like, okay, I don't have to tackle that this quarter, but I'm going to try to tackle it next quarter. And that can be helpful too. Now, of course, all of this stuff is stuff we talk about in my HB90 course, or if you want to just do the cheaper version of it, in my quarterly planner. There's an undated planner up on Etsy, but there's also the Q3 planners just went up on Etsy, and I'll link that down below because I'm running a 20% off sale. So instead of $15, they're only $12 for the next week only. So you can go grab those. But if you sign up for my HB90 course, you get the Q3 planner for free, and I'll walk you through the whole system of how to take that long-term vision for your life and then break it down into manageable, realistic goals. Because here's what I'm talking about when it comes to motivation. If you only have that big goal, it can seem too big and totally unrealistic for you, because you've got to go from point A all the way to point, Z, and you have no idea how you're going to get there. And it just feels like you've got to get it all done, and you feel like it's this big, jumble of things to do. But if you can take a look at your time realistically. And this is why I love 90-day planning, because you get a fresh start every 90 days and you don't have to tackle how you're going to get all the way to this huge goal. You just have to start making baby steps, and we can all make baby steps towards our goals. So once you figure out what those next baby steps are, you accomplish what you can in 90 days, you review it, you take a fresh start next 90 days. Like here we are in June. This is the end of quarter 2 of the year. So right now, this weekend, even as I'm moving, I'm going to start reviewing how my second quarter went and start thinking about Q3 and what I want to get accomplished in Q3 that's going to move me towards that long-term vision of my life. And I am telling you right now, having that balance, knowing the long term, but also knowing what I'm doing right now to move me toward that vision is so incredibly powerful. It's like I can take control of that dream. I can't totally say I'm gonna make it in X amount of years, but I know that everything I'm doing on a daily basis is moving me toward this life that is my ideal life. And there is nothing more motivational than that, because instead of just feeling like you've got this overwhelming list of things to do and that you're never gonna get it done, now you have control over it in a way, and you don't want to procrastinate anymore. So if you're trying to figure out how to get motivated to get that work done every day, this is part of the biggest key of it. Having that long-term vision for your life, making sure that the people that you're following and paying attention to online are people who motivate and encourage you rather than discourage you, and then having a realistic view of your to-do list so that you know every day, every single thing you're sitting down to do is important and is moving you in the right direction. So there's no more doubt. It eliminates that doubt, right? It's very powerful. Okay, 2 more tips here. This one's a quick one. Number 4 is actually a quick one and a fun one. Reward yourself. You hear about carrots, having carrots for, pulling the horse along or whatever. Give yourself rewards. Even if you don't have a lot of money to spend, to give yourself big rewards. Like not everybody can afford to give themselves Gucci bags and manicure and pedicures every week for hitting your writing goals. But there are a lot of non-monetary things that you can do to reward yourself as well. Like, if I finish this, I'm going to drive out to the beach this weekend, or I'm going to go out to the park and I'm going to reward myself with an entire afternoon at the park, writing or, reading this new book that I have, or I'm going to reward myself with Saturday and Sunday completely off to do nothing but binge watch Netflix. Now, see, I talked about this a little bit earlier that sometimes we use those things as procrastination methods, like binge watching Netflix and playing video games as if they're bad things. And for a long time, that is how I lived my life, is I thought those were ways that I was procrastinating my dreams. Instead of writing, I was watching Investigation Discovery. Instead of losing weight, I was binge watching Oreos. It's like every dream that I knew I had felt so overwhelming that I would sabotage it by, indulging in these other things that were bad for me, so to speak. So one of the big mindset shifts that I have made over the past few years is to take away the shame and the negativity around things like watching Netflix or playing video games. That's no longer procrastination methods for me. Those are rewards. So now that I'm super motivated to do the things on my to-do list, I get them done throughout the day. I enjoy making the videos. I enjoy doing the writing. I know I'm moving toward every day this life that I want to live, and really am living my dream life in big ways right now. Then at the end of the day, hey, I've gotten everything marked off my list, or I've done a pretty good job. Maybe I didn't get everything, because it's rare that I do every single tiny thing on my list, but I did good things. I made a new video, I edited a video, I ran this challenge or whatever. But now you've got these specific, realistic to-dos. And once you get them done, you can reward yourself by playing video games. And now it's no longer self-sabotage or, a way to procrastinate. It's just a fun reward that you get to fully enjoy. And then instead of playing those video games and having that negative, thoughts going through your head of God, I should be writing. I'm such a loser. Why am I wasting my time? Et cetera, et cetera. And knowing that you're trading your dreams for this video game, now you can just thoroughly enjoy the video game. It's this amazing thing. So it's I enjoy my work because I know things are moving me in the right direction. And then I'm enjoying my play. And I used to really feel like the play things in my life were just procrastination methods and self-sabotage. And I have been able to, through working this program and through the last couple years of my own personal journey, to flip those things around to where I enjoy my work. I'm lucky every day that I get to do what I get to do. And then I also get to enjoy time with my family, time at the beach, time, with my son, going out to see a movie, and all those things that I used to use as procrastination and self-sabotage, I have now reclaimed as just things that are fun in my life. And don't get me wrong by saying oh, I have this perfect life, because nobody has that perfect life. But every day I am moving toward what my ideal life is. And every day I'm sort of fighting for that. And I'm more and more motivated to achieve it, because I know what I want and I know how I'm going to move to get there, and I reward myself along the way. And when I do get a reward, so I finish a book or I finish my to-do list, I reward myself in the evenings with things that make me happy, either spending time with people that I love or being able to shop the new Erin Condren collection. Yes, I did just get another box from Erin Condren. Actually, 2 new boxes arrived yesterday, the summer surprise box and a brand new deluxe monthly planner for my heart breathing stuff. So if you guys want to see that, pop that in the comments below and I'll show you my latest Erin Condren stuff. That's another way that I reward myself, but I also do non-monetary rewards. As soon as I finish all my work for today that I have enjoyed doing, I'm also going to reward myself by going to the pool with my son and having some time outside in this gorgeous weather. So reward yourself. That's the next tip. And the final tip, the 5th and final tip, is to make incremental changes. So one good way to motivate yourself is, instead of feeling like you have to tackle these huge things, oh my gosh, I have to write an entire series and publish this and start, be able to quit my job, instead of making changes that you feel like I'm going to write, 5,000 words every single day, and you go from 0 to 5,000 words, or you expect yourself to make these huge leaps and to suddenly be the best version of yourself you can be overnight. It's better to, when it comes to your motivation, to make incremental changes. And what I mean by this is start small. So if you want to stay motivated to hit those big goals, start somewhere really small. So you have to start where you are. You can't start where you wish you were. And this was a big mistake I used to make in my life, is I used to say, well, but I wish I was writing this many words per day, or I wish I could write this many books per year. And so I would be making these enormous schedules that would just be so unrealistic. And then I would beat myself up and self-sabotage and ruin it all and get nothing accomplished. And what I started to realize is there's a lot of power in making small changes. the problem for me was it didn't feel like enough. Like, if I want to make these big goals come true, I can't just write 500 words a day. That's not enough. And then the panic starts to sit in that I'm going to miss out on this destiny somehow, or I'm not going to hit my goals because I'm not doing enough. And I would start to panic, and then nothing would get done. But there is a lot of power and motivation in starting small. So if you're writing, every once in a while, you sit down and you write a sprint or two, or you do 500 words here and there, but you're not really making any progress on your writing because you're, self-sabotaging like we just talked about. Try setting a goal for yourself instead of saying, well, I've got to catch up. I'm going to write 5,000 words a day and expecting these huge things out of yourself. Try just starting small. I'm going to sit down and I'm going to write for 30 minutes every day. Or if that feels like too much, I'm going to sit down and write for 10 minutes every day this next week. Not for the rest of my life, just this next week, Monday through Friday, I'm going to commit to 10 minutes a day, every day of writing, and see where it takes you. So instead of trying to make these huge leaping changes, start with incremental changes. So you write for 10 minutes this week. That goes really well. You feel really good about yourself. You're starting to build that positive motivation and momentum. So next week you say, I'm going to up my timer to 15 minutes a day. And I'm going to just, I'm not going to try to tackle all my big dreams all at once, but I'm going to write 15 minutes a day. So I made this tiny little change. And then maybe for the next couple weeks, you write 15 minutes a day. And maybe you miss a few days here and there, but overall, you're getting a lot more writing done than you have in the past several years. So then, 3 weeks, 2 weeks down the road, you say, I'm going to up this to 30 minutes. So instead of making that leap from you're not writing at all to suddenly you think you're going to be writing 30 minutes a day, it may take you a month or two to build up to 30 minutes a day, but you're much more likely to actually do it. If you jump from 0 to 30, you're much more likely to sabotage yourself. But when you make these small changes, you actually get stuff done, and you motivate yourself, and you work through the journey, and you work through the mindset things that you need to work through along the way. So that's my fifth and final tip, is to just make small changes, incremental changes, and start to build that positive momentum in your life. And then you will find motivation. It's a lot easier to motivate yourself to do something small, like motivate yourself for writing 10 minutes a day. That's easy. Whereas writing for 2 full hours a day might feel impossible right now. So start where it feels possible and it feels fun for you. I'm going to write for 10 minutes and this is going to be great. I'm going to read one new book every 2 months, or I'm going to read one chapter every week of this, business book or whatever it is. But when you make those small changes, your momentum begins to build on itself, and you begin to actually see results and get things done. So that's my final tip. Guys, I hope that you enjoyed this. I know it's a lot of my own personal experience, but hopefully something in here has resonated with you, because I find that knowing that big vision, being very careful who I follow and careful with myself and my own sensitivities and being honest about them, then having that balance between the big goals and the realistic to-do list that is like something I'm actually going to accomplish, rewarding myself along the way, and finally just making small changes instead of trying to grow by leaps and bounds and be like super Sarah. Those 5 things have made such a huge difference in my life, not only in being less stressed, but in getting more done and feeling more motivated on a daily basis to work on my to-do list and work toward my goals. If any of this has resonated with you, I would super love to have you join me in my HB90 Bootcamp, which is starting again next week, June 20th. This class only opens a few times a year, and I've already had a good amount of people sign up for this quarter. I would love to have you in before the doors close. The course is $149 for lifetime access, and that includes not just getting into the course for these 3 days, but also you can take all the time you need to work through this. You can go through it every single quarter. You get a free planner for Q3, and you get access to a Facebook group, which is growing into an amazing community of people. And it's not like I just support you through the boot camp and then you don't hear from me again. Everybody who's in my boot camp alumni Facebook group hears from me every single week. We encourage each other. I have support for them every single week. And it's just a great community. So I would love, love, love to have you join us. Now is the time. Links to join are down below. But I have another really cool course that is starting for the very first time in July, and that's called Publish and Thrive. I have specifically kept the price of this lower than most self-publishing courses because I want to make sure that it's accessible for you guys. And in fact, I am running a special deal since this is the very first time I'm offering this 5-week course on self-publishing. And it is going to be normal price of $399, but for this round only, it's $100 off at $299. The sign up for that is also down below. And if you want to just check out kind of like what's the course is about and what's all in it, you can just follow that link down below, and there will be a page that kind of tells you what each of the 5 weeks are about, everything from like how to figure out your strategy for what you're going to write, to how to publish and all these questions that I'm going to answer, as well as marketing and that sort of thing. And this is obviously, just to let you know, not coming from someone who doesn't have success or experience in self-publishing. Like I said, I have been self-publishing since 2010. I have sold almost 750,000 books, and I know what I'm talking about, but this is not a course about Facebook ads or how to spend a lot of money like on AMS ads and Facebook ads. This is more of like the fundamentals of strategy and things, including marketing strategies that are kind of evergreen and are the things that have worked best for me in my career. So don't go into it expecting it's going to be like a big advertising course, because that's not what it is. It's more fundamentals of marketing and strategy and all about self-publishing. So the big announcement that I have today is I actually have just launched a bundle. If you want to take the HB90 Bootcamp course and the Publish and Thrive course this summer, you can get an additional $50 off. And so the price for that would be $398 for when you bundle them together. So I would love to have you join both classes this summer. Again, you'll have lifetime access to both courses and a lot of support from me online. So I would love to have you join. Check out those sales pages below. And if you know you're not really interested in the courses or they're too expensive, my Q3 planner, like I said, has just gone on sale and it is 20% off. So it's only $12 for the rest of this week and all through next week. So I'd love to have you pick that up as well, or get a free copy when you sign up for the bootcamp. All right, guys, thanks for letting me share the news about the courses. And I hope that these tips have resonated with you. If they did, please comment down below and let me know, and hit that thumbs up, subscribe to this channel, and I will see you guys this weekend in my next video where I'm going to show you kind of a flip through of my current custom planner. All right, bye for now.